guys, Beautiful Essentials here. So I've been getting a lot of requests on how to change this plastic drawer cart into either a nightstand or a glam storage cart. What I'm going to do now is show you guys how I analyzed the cart. The next thing I did was to check out the sides, and then I noticed that it was kind of straight, so that's good for me. But the front has curves, so that's going to give me a little bit of work. With the design I have in mind, I'm probably going to have to make another provision for a drawer pull. Now, if you're new to my channel, it's so great to have you here. Now, don't forget to click on the subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my latest videos. I'll be using canvas panels and cutting out measurements from them to use for my design. I'm going to start off by covering the drawers. And keep in mind, guys, that the lower part here is straight and the upper part is kind of slanted down. I took all the 3 pieces and spray painted them silver. I took one, and then I'm going to generously cover the top with Mod Podge. And I'm using the gloss Mod Podge. I decided much later that I would like to have something else by the sides, so I'm going to use a paper towel to clean up the Mod Podge by the sides. Now I'm going to be using masking tape to cover the sides. The next thing I'll do is sprinkle crushed mirror glass all around it. I use this crushed mirror glass as well, and this is the one that I have the link for in the description box below. I repeated what I did on the remaining 2 boards, and then I left it for some few hours to dry. I took off the masking tapes, and then I shook off the excess mirror pieces. I'm going to put this back into a container for another project. The mirror pieces were made in a way that it won't cut you, but then just to make sure you have a nice surface, you can either have a super glazed look using epoxy, or you can use multiple layers of Mod Podge to make it okay to touch. So Mod Podge was what I used at the end of the day. The next thing I'm going to do is attach the boards to the plastic drawers. Remember that because of the bump here, I'm going to have to give it a slanty look. I'm going to make sure that the drawer is perfectly fitted at the center. I'm also going to leave very little gap at the bottom. I'm going to push it up just a bit. This is just to make sure that the drawers move freely. I'll be covering the open spaces by the sides and the top. After cutting the pieces, I realized that I can just use a cake platter. So I'm going to cut all the pieces that I need from this cake platter because it saved me the trouble of spray painting or covering it with mirror reflective paper. I went ahead and I labeled the pieces to make it easy for me to know which of the pieces belong to which side. This is how I measured the piece for the top. The larger pieces by the sides will be attached to the plastic. And then the smaller pieces at the top will be attached with a strong adhesive and a hot glue gun. I wanted using cake platters for the borders that's in front of the drawer cart, but then I changed my mind because I wanted to be really nice, so I picked up mirror sheets, and I have a link for this down in the description box below. It reflects like an actual mirror, and it's also self-adhesive. Because I used masking tape for the borders, I'm going to use the same measurements for the masking tape, and it is just 1 inch, and measure it on the mirror sheets, cut them, and then attach them. The length of the mirror sheet is not long enough to cover this side here, so I'm just going to cut 2 equal pieces and attach them like this. I want to make a pretty knob, so what I did was to pick up these items. This is what they use to hold mirrors at the back of a mirror pack, like this. I never throw these things away because I know sooner or later I'm going to use them for a project. So I'm going to spray paint them silver and gluing pearls around it. And I'm going to be using a strong adhesive and a hot glue gun. I left the middle part because I'll be using a screwdriver to screw this into the drawer. It is after I'm done with that before I then use the strong adhesive and glue in the rest. Now for the body of the cart, I spray painted the front and some of the sides silver. I then took a piece of particle board that was a leftover from another project, cut it to measurements for the sides, spray painted them silver, and then attached them. After I was done with that, I attached canvas panel at the top and then glued on mirror at the top. And because it couldn't cover the whole thing, I covered up the open spaces with mirror mosaic tiles. These are the drawers, and then I inserted them inside the cart, and this is what they all look like together. I covered the screw heads with gems. This is what the plastic cart now looks like. What a transformation. It was kind of challenging because of the curved front, but then I think this looks okay. Here are some before and after photos. This actually came out better than I imagined. This is a picture of a side table that was sent to me by someone, and she wanted me to make something close to it on a budget. So what I did was to look for an outdoor floor mat that has similar patterns to the side table. This is a really strong mat because it is made with the rubber used for car tires. I got this gold spray paint from Home Depot, and that's what I used to spray paint the mat gold. I also spray painted the back. Now I'm going to put it down straight and hold it together with screws. For those of you who are new to my channel, it's so great to have you here. Now don't forget to click on the subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my latest videos. It wasn't easy holding this down, so I decided to just use my fingers inside the holes to hold it to make it straight before I start pre-drilling the holes and then adding the screws. When doing this, be ready to get your hands dirty because of the rubber residue that will be coming off when pre-drilling the holes. The lower left part of the rubber has a lot of scratches because I took it in and mistakenly put some things on top of it when it wasn't properly dry. But for rubbers like this to dry properly, the spray painting should be done outside on a sunny day with proper ventilation and not in an enclosed box. I'm going to keep adding more screws because I want this side to be leveled when I'm done. When I was done, I lifted it up, and then I noticed that the part that I was working on is not as flat as I wanted it to be, so I will be adding more screws there. because I spray painted it gold. Down here you can see powder residues of gold and black. The top here and the bottom will be closed after I put the wood. Now this is the wood that I will be using, and it's 11 inches round. I placed it on top just to see if it was okay, and I liked it. So I went ahead and I spray painted it gold. I got 2 of the boards. One will be at the bottom and one at the top. My initial plan was to use embroidery hoop at the bottom, but what I had was 10 inches. So I went to different craft stores to look for 11 inches and couldn't find one. So that's why I decided to just go ahead and use the round board at the bottom. The board for the top will be turned over before I attach it. I'll be using long and short screws, so I'll be starting off with the short screws. Here I cannot use short screws because it's thick, so I'm going to be using longer screws. Now that I'm done with the top, I'm going to turn it over and do the same thing to the bottom. Like I said earlier, this rubber would leave a lot of dust residue because of the multiple holes made while drilling. I'm done with the bottom. Now I'm going to turn it back to the top. This is a really strong table because it was made out of hard rubber. Now you can use dowels inside if you like, but I didn't bother myself with that because it's really sturdy. I'll use this gold trim to cover up the top and the bottom side of the table. Bottom side was covered as well, so now I'm going to be taking a 10 inches round mirror and gluing it on top. Because I wanted a different finishing, I made a second one that I'll be giving to a friend, and I'm going to be using mirror mosaic tiles at the top and at the bottom, and the link for this mirror mosaic tiles will be in the description box below. I love the combination of the gold and silver. Now I'm back to the first table. I'm going to be covering up the empty spaces at the top with long strips of the mirror mosaic tiles. I did the same thing for the other table. And then I covered up the screws with gems. While we're on the other table, I added gems all around to complement the silver that I have going on at the top and at the bottom. Here's how it turned out. And this is the other one that was decorated with gold trim. It's hard to choose because I'll be giving one out to a friend, but then both of them turned out pretty nice. And I made these tables with a rubber floor mat. I have to say that this was quite easy to make. I want to let you guys know that I take on requests based on the supplies available. So if I haven't worked on any of your requests yet, it could be because I don't have the supplies at hand. So please bear with me. From the picture that was sent to me, I could tell that this was gotten from Pinterest. Now I'm going to be starting off with Terrarium planters that I got from the Dollar Tree. I'll be using 12 for this project, and I'm going to be removing this part here because I won't be needing it. I'll be adding some fainted lines on the inside. And I'm going to do that by cutting thin strips from a Posterboard that I'll be putting inside the Terrarium planters to give me a fainted line effect while spray painting the inside with a mirror spray paint. If you're new to my channel, it's so great to have you here. Now don't forget to click on the subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my latest videos. Now I'm going to be putting the strips inside and holding them down with tape. Now you don't have to do this, but I personally would prefer to see nice fainted lines inside. This is the shape that I want to see inside when I'm done with the spray painting, and I'll be using a mirror spray paint. To see the mirror effect, the spray painting should be done on the inside. I'll be doing this for all the planters, and remember the spray painting should be done on the inside. I took it outside and then I started spray painting. Now I'm doing this lightly and not covering the whole thing, because I would like to give it a faded mirror effect. After 30 minutes, I took off the papers inside. I can see the faded mirror effect and also the faint lines. This is the table that I'm going to be using, and it's a foldable table, and I've had this for a while now, but I've used it just once. So because of that, I just figured, why not just use it for the project? It is perfect for outdoors. And I had to go back to Walmart to figure out where I can find the same table and take a picture to show you guys what it's used for. You can also increase the height of the table. I'm going to measure how wide the hole that I'm going to be making on the planters will be. Now, because the plastic is hard, I'm going to be making all the holes on all the planters with a soldering iron. I spray painted the legs of the table silver, and then I started stacking up the planters inside the rods. As this came down here, it wasn't holding well, so I had to use tape around the lower part to make sure that the ball fits in a snug way. When I was sure that it was okay, I then glued it down. After that, I continued adding the other planters. As I was about to add the third one to glue it on, I realized that this is too short. So I had to bring it up just a little and just enough to make sure that the legs are going to be outside, because I want the weight of the table to be on the legs and not on the planters. I'll do this for all 4 legs and keep it aside. The next thing I'll do is take these wooden boards that have been cut to size and attach them to the table. I now have 4 squared corners because of the boards. I got this hot pink contact paper online, and I will leave a link for it down in the description box below. Because the wood has some imperfections, I'll be attaching this to a posterboard first before then attaching it to the wood. I forgot to mention that I removed this part here to keep the side of the table flushed. Now for the top, I'll be using these photo frames that I got from Walmart, and I'm going to be using just the acrylic sheet that's on top. I took it out and then I cut them to size and placed them on top of the table. As you can see, the top of the table is rough, and then after placing the acrylic sheet on top of it, because the sheets are transparent, you can still see the rough lines on the table. So what I did was to take all the acrylic sheets out and spray paint just one side of them black, leaving the opposite side looking glossy and shiny. I've used this technique before a lot of times on real glass for some of my DIYs, but this time around, because I couldn't find glass that was going to cover the table the way I wanted it to, I had to use acrylic sheets. And it still works. No one is going to know that they are acrylic sheets and not glass. This type of table is perfect for those open and bare spaces that you may have in your home, or some corners that need some little decor. You can place it there and have beautiful decor items placed on top. If you're going to use an old buffet table like I did, you can increase the height. I'm going to be using empty plastic bottles to recreate a luxury style ottoman. This is something that has been done a lot of times on Pinterest, so I'm going to try it out myself. For this particular brand of water bottles, I wanted using these ones first, but I'm going to show you guys why I changed my mind. The plastic is not strong at all. And these are the water bottles that I've saved up. So instead of using that, I'm going to be using Coca-Cola bottles that are saved up as well. The plastic used for the Coke bottles is really hard and quite impressive. So that's what I'm going to be using. I'm going to start this project by drawing a circle on a board. This is a leftover board from another project. So I'm going to draw a circle there and cut out the shape. I'm using a leftover plastic board, but then you can also use cardboard. This is a cutter that my hubby got for me, and I love the way it works, but I had an issue with it. I guess when you're cutting smaller cuts or cuts that are not too much, it works perfectly fine. But I had an issue with the noise. It makes a lot of noise. And I also noticed that if you're doing a lot of cutting, it's going to be vibrating. Like, it vibrates a lot and it can get really uncomfortable. But like I said earlier, this will be good if you don't have a lot of cutting to do. Now that I have my round boards, the next thing I'm going to do is glue the soda bottles to them. If you're new to my channel, it's so great to have you here. Now don't forget to click on the subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my latest videos. When I was done, I held everything tightly together with duct tape. I'm going to go ahead now and glue on the second board. I made 2 for the project. I'll prefer the bottom part of the bottles to be at the top, so I'm going to turn it over. The next thing I'm going to do is glue on a 1-inch foam around them. I'm going to leave 1-inch space for the side that's meant for the top. I'm gonna hold this down with tape just so that it stays in place. The second one that's going to be at the bottom does not need the 1-inch space, so I'm going to cut that off. I'll be using cardboard in the middle. This is a velvet fabric, and that's what I'm going to be using for the ottoman. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut out the cardboard for the middle. And I'll be drawing out circles on boards and cutting it out, gluing them together, and attaching it to the middle. I need this to be a little bit higher, so I'm going to add 2 more pieces. I'll use a strong adhesive and a hot glue gun to attach this to the middle. I left some fabric, that's for the upper part, at the lower side so that it will be easy for me to attach it to the cardboard that I just glued on at the middle. Now I'm going to be covering the middle part. What I did first was measure how much I need, and then I'll be using this gold trim that I got from Walmart, and then gluing it onto this plastic sheet that I got from Home Depot that's a leftover from another project. Now this plastic sheet is really strong, and I love using it. Now you can use cardboard for this, but you have to cut it down to size and then roll it to make it flexible. Because it's plastic, I'm going to hold it down with glue and a staple gun. I'm going to glue foam to a board, cover it up with fabric, and then glue it on to the top. Now here's how the ottoman turned out. This looks pretty, but I know it's going to look a lot better if it's in a pair. So I'm going to make another one. I noticed what I made was too high, so I'll recommend shorter soda bottles for this. This was a quick and easy DIY, and I used empty plastic bottles and a lot of leftovers for this. to be using a plastic storage cart. And I'm going to be using this to make a French-styled dresser. Here are some pictures on what the dresser that I want to make would look like. Now I went to the thrift store to look for something similar to work on it instead of making a brand new one. But I couldn't find anyone, so I decided to just make mine using 2 plastic storage carts. I'm going to be removing all of the drawers first and then attaching all the frames together. If you're new to my channel, it's so great to have you here. Now don't forget to click on the subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my latest videos. I'll be attaching a wooden board at the bottom to make it easy for me to attach legs to this. And the legs that I'm going to be using is what I purchased on Amazon, and I'll leave a link for them down in the description box below. I'll be making the wide curved shapes, that's by the sides, with plastic sheets. And I got a large roll of sheet, just one, and it's $20, and it's a lot. So I cut it to size, and then I attach them like this. This is not strong, so I'm going to use cardboard to make a shape that I want inside. And this is the shape that I cut that's going to fit right inside. So I'm going to be cutting multiple shapes and attaching them together. This cutter made it so easy for me to cut out the shapes, and the link for this is going to be down in the description box below. But you should know that the cutter vibrates. That's the only thing that I have a problem with it, but then it gets the job done. These are the shapes that I've cut. Now I'm going to be gluing them to a flat board, reinforcing it, and then inserting it inside the space. I'm going to be filling up this space here that I left open. And I'll be filling this space with tight foam that I got from Home Depot. They also sell this in other hardware stores. Now I'm going to shake this vigorously for about 30 seconds and then spray the foam inside the openings. Now I'm not going to go right down to the bottom because this swells over time. So I'm just going to start somewhere here in the middle, and then hopefully it swells going downward. I used 1 can for this, and then I made another one, so I used 2 cans in total. The next thing I'm going to do is cover the back with the board. Now, as you can see, the foam is beginning to swell, and I'm scared that it's going to burst open. I was hoping it was going to swell going downward, but let's see how it goes. It is rock hard and it's also light in weight. This is the wood that I'm going to use on the drawers. I cut it to size, and I cut 3 because I'm going to be joining 2 drawers on 1 piece of wood. All I did was just remove the drawers and align them properly on the wood and attach them to the wood. Because the drawers are not flat at the front, I'm going to be putting something at the bottom to keep them balanced. So far so good, this is where we are. Now the openings here are going to be covered again with sheets, just to cover up the spaces. I removed the drawers and took the body out and spray painted it silver. Meanwhile, the drawers are going to be covered with marble contact paper. I got this one online and I love the design that this one has, and the link for this is going to be down in the description box below. I'll be using this trim to decorate what I've just made, and I spray painted it silver and I attached it to the sides with a hot glue gun and with tack nails. I'll be using this as well. I spray painted it silver and I attached it at the bottom. I'll be using these to open up the drawers, and the link for this is going to be down in the description box below. The screw that's showing on top there is making me feel uncomfortable because it's just too obvious, but let's see how it goes. I got the shape that I want. Now for the top, I'm going to be using trays from Five Below that I used for another project. Now those of you who have watched this video will remember that I used just the bottom part and I left the top. So the top is what I'm going to be using now to decorate the top of my dresser. I covered the front and the sides to make it flow with the overall design. This is another decorative piece that I'm going to be spray painting silver and attaching it at the top. I'll be adding more, and the list for all of these will be down in the description box below. Now for this one, I got from Lowe's. It has already been spray painted gold for another project. But then I had excess and I cut them into little pieces, spray painted them silver, and attached them to the dresser. Now you all might say that this is a little bit too much, but remember it's a French Baroque dresser that has to come with a lot of embellishments. I'm going to be adding this one as well, and I'm going to be spray painting it silver and attaching it by the sides. I carefully painted the wooden parts of the drawer that's still showing with white acrylic paint. This was such an interesting project because now I have drawers that have been compartmentalized because of the plastic storage bins that I used. I used white and silver for this, but then you can choose whichever color that suits you best. Who would have thought that a plastic storage cart can be covered up and look this pretty? I really hope you all enjoyed this idea and learned one or two things from it. Now don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and share with your friends and families as well. Thank you all so much for watching.